It's official. The Pelicans will likely be moving on from Zion Williamson. But what value does he have on the trade market right now? And what are you willing to give up to get out of the Zion Williamson business? Well, we're going to take a look at the latest reports and what they have to say inside this edition of Pelicans Digest. What's good with it, y'all? It's your people, Melz On The MIC, back once again inside Pelicans Digest. Thank you so much for checking in with your boy, man. I appreciate it, especially after yesterday. Try to give you a little hope, and y'all just took a complete dump on my idea, but I ain't mad at y'all. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and thank you so much for subscribing to Pelicans Digest as we try to get ready for this next game coming up tonight in a matter of minutes, as a matter of fact, against the Minnesota Timberwolves, a game that, again, you dominated for the most part of the game, and then you let Anthony Edwards come in and take over and say that he should have had 50 on y'all instead of 44. And, again, you're going to be doing it without Zion Williamson again. As you know, he's already out, going to be out. They went from 3 weeks to now indefinitely with this guy. And my thing is with the Pelicans, man, why do we act like we're North Korea sometimes with information? This team acts like it's North Korea. Like, it's got to suppress information, and anything negative about this team, it's got to be suppressed and not spoken about. We see it. It's all bad right now. It's all bad right now. And but you might see some Carlo Makovic number action tonight. He has been listed as questionable. Other than that, Herb Jones will remain out. Jordan Poole, Dejounte Murray, they're all going to be out. But for the most part, the majority of the roster will be available for the game tonight. But according to lots of reporting over the last 24 hours, especially about Zion Williamson and his latest setback and his latest injury, a lot of people are starting to assess the trade value of Zion Williamson. And it's something that I really didn't want to speak on too much. But yesterday, after yesterday's video about my idea on, the Pelicans do have some sort of options to try to get Giannis over here, y'all took a complete dump on that idea. So we're going to take a look at what can we talk about with Zion Williamson. What is possible? What is the value for Zion Williamson right now? So you can possibly get started on your rebuild sooner, because you waited 7 years. Not only you, we as a fan base has waited 7 years. Some of y'all still believe, despite every indicator that we shouldn't. After 7 years of doing this, do you still want to continue to be in the business of Zion Williamson? Because some folks in the franchise still believe so. Others believe it's time to move on. But what is his current trade value if you're guessing? Well, let's take a look. According to a report from Clutch Sports, one league source who spoke to Clutch Sports speculated that the Pelicans will be willing to accept the first decent, reasonable offer they could get for Williamson. But the 25-year-old's values is diminished due to his injury history. New Orleans has yet to have any meaningful trade negotiations involving Williamson, according to Dodson, who notes that the team's leverage is extremely limited. And again, no team, are you willing to risk a player that's not going to be on the floor all the time, but when it's on the floor can give you minutes? Are you willing to pay for someone who, at this point in his career, if he chooses not to retire, will probably just be a backup guy, a limited guy at this point, not a franchise player? His track record shows that it can't be a franchise player you can be dependent on. So at this point, Zion is going to become a role player if he wants to stay in the NBA. What team was willing to pay that price? Because the only true value in Zion Williamson right now is his contract. And the fact that you could get out of that contract at the end of this season. That is his only value. And I remember as I was eating lunch today at a restaurant, shout out to Uncle Jack's Kitchen here in Tyler, Texas. Big shout out to them. They had ESPN on blasting. And I kept hearing them talk on NBA Today about what can you give up for Zion, and the same conversation was going on. And again, I think Mark Spears was the one who said, you got to find a team that's willing to get rid of their problem for your problem. That's basically it. Because when you look at the players that you may have to give up, let's start with Trey Murphy, because they're going to ask. Let's be honest here. If you want to get rid of Zion Williamson, if you're an NBA team, you are going to go ask about Trey Murphy. You're going to ask, can we get Trey Murphy? It's just a fact. It's just a fact, ladies and gentlemen. So deal with it. Before you come jumping in the comments, get mad at me. Deal with it. They're going to ask about Trey Murphy. So what you want for Trey Murphy? All right, then. One source tells Clutch Reports that New Orleans would want a Desmond Bane-type return in the event of a Murphy trade, with multiple first-round picks, a veteran contract, and a solid young prospect viewed as a starting point. So you can go ahead and take Trey off the board because teams ain't willing to, what reports are reading, trade, they ain't willing to do that. Plus, that report also went on to confirm something I stated earlier in the season, that this team was making Trey Murphy the face of the franchise, not Zion Williamson. It was going to be, they're putting all their chips in on Trey Murphy. And if they're asking for a Desmond Bane type deal, then and there's a whole bunch of teams, unless you really try to rebuild or you really don't give a damn, they're not going to be willing to get that up. So you can take Trey Murphy off the board. you go ahead and take Trey off the board. The next player that they're probably going to ask for, because you got to expect this. Again, if you want to get out of Zion Williams' business, you're going to probably have to package him with some one of these guys, possibly. The next player on that list is Herb Jones. Everybody been crying they want Herb Jones. They love Herb Jones. Everybody want Herb Jones for his defense. They don't want to deal with the offensive side, but they want him for his defense. And earlier, I did a video at the start of the season, before the season started, where I said that if you're the Pelicans, you should be listening for offers for Herb Jones. Oh, man, y'all killed me on that. Y'all killed me on that. Y'all told me I was crazy and Herb was a no-go. Now I'm looking in these comments and I'm starting to see, yeah, we could go ahead and trade Herb. It was something that I just said you need to explore at the start of the season. But they went ahead and gave him, re-upped him, gave him a new deal. Contract's still good, which is another attractive factor for why teams want to call and ask about Herb Jones. But Herb Jones also has plenty of trade value, with the Lakers and Warriors among the teams that have actively looked into pathways to acquire him, according to Chris Dodson. But, again, what are you willing to give up? Is this part of the package? What else are you willing to get for that? The only other player I can think of that according to these reports, that a lot of teams are eyeing and want to keep their eye on is Jose Alvarado. Another player, I said again, despite his player option coming up at the end of the year, I don't think the Pelicans are going to re-sign him. Jose Alvarado is another New Orleans role player who has generated trade interest this fall. Alvarado, who is on a pseudo-expiring contract with a $4.5 million player option in 26 and 27, was previously said to be drawing interest from Indiana. And he has that option. Again, a player option that he has, which means he could take it or wait for more money. I think there's going to be a bunch of teams that are willing to throw him more money compared to the Pelicans. 4.5 is a drop in the bucket to a lot of teams. They're willing to pay that for what Alvarado brings. So, do you take that risk and keep him or package him up so you can get out of the Zion Williamson business? Because at the end of the day, you got to get out of it. We got to get out of it. You have a chance to get out of it because, again, the value of it is his contract. The fact that in order for his contract to be guaranteed next year, besides the weight causes, he has to play at least half of this season, 41 games of the season. He's going to miss. He's already missed a whole bunch. He's already missed more than 10. At least more than 12 at this point out of the 20. 21, 22 games we done played so far. So chances are and with him being gone 3 weeks, that's going to be another, 12 games possibly? That's 24 right there. Possibly 12, 13, 14 games. I don't know. But he ain't going to hit the 40-game mark, so you can't get out of this contract. So, but what are you willing to surrender for that? Because they're going to call an axe. Jordan Hawkins, maybe? I don't think they're going to get out of the Jordan Poole contract. Nobody wants that Jordan Poole contract. Nobody wants that Jordan Poole contract. So I don't think Jordan Poole is a viable trade option. I don't think Murray is either until he comes back and you can see what he's capable of. I don't think teams are willing to take that risk with him. Missy maybe. But again, you're giving up rim protection. You already don't have rim protection. Sorry, as much as we love Derek Queen is not a rim protector right now, not on the NBA level. Not right now. Just still, because the premium right now is 7 foot up. I said this at the start of the season. The premium is going to be on 7 foot and up centers. And that's who has been kicking out behind all season long because we don't have proper rim protection outside of Misi. So again, what are you willing to give up? What is the value for Zion Williamson at this point? What kind of trade can be finagled, in your opinion, so you can get out of the Zion Williamson business? Because, again, I know y'all Zion stands going to come on here, and that's cool, but I'm going to say this. You have been waiting for 7 years. That's almost a decade for this to work out. You have invested time. We have invested time. You can't, this man, and somebody said this on another video, and I agree with them on this. I think somebody from Brew Crew Sports said this. You can't blame New Orleans. You cannot blame New Orleans with this. New Orleans gave him every opportunity and resource, supported him. When he was getting sued by Mariah Mills, Gail Benson put out a whole statement saying we support Zion. This team has had Zion's back at every turn. They protected him at every way, shape, and form, and we have not been rewarded yet. So, what are your thoughts? What are you willing to give over Zion Williamson? Clap back in the comments, and thank you so much for clapping back with us here on Pelicans Digest. We'll be checking in throughout the night with the Minnesota game. Hopefully we can get a W. I stay the struggle is still going to continue. But what are your thoughts? What are you willing to give up? And what are you willing to send for Zion Williamson? Clap back, and I appreciate you checking in with us here on Pelicans Digest.